Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you're having a great Friday. I hope you're looking forward to your weekend. I do have some stuff I need you to get done today, and we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Today's work is mostly trying to finish up the stuff we were doing yesterday in class. We're going to take a look again at that scene from Shuffle Along. Before we get into all that stuff, I would like to take a second to give you a little bit of a catch-up in case you missed that stuff. So here's our slide deck. And if you will recall, our objectives for today and for yesterday are analyze the impact of repetition, which we know means repeating stuff, on the first scene in Shuffle Along, which from our work yesterday we now know is a very important musical from the Harlem Renaissance era. Second, we're going to compare the written version of Election Day, which is the title of the song in this first scene, to its audio version, analyzing the effects of techniques in each medium. Medium just means like a place where you do art. For example, like poetry is a medium, drawing is a medium, public speaking is a medium, music is a medium, right? So we're talking about comparing the audio version to the written version. Yesterday we listened to this song, so we listened to that yesterday. And here we're going to take a look at the work we were doing with the rest of the day yesterday. We went in to Canvas to work time A for lesson 2, which I will switch over there now. There we go. It was this guy right here. We opened up a Harlem Renaissance packet. We read this Shuffle Along section, the first page and a half or so, which tells us why this text is so important, why it's useful for us to study, why it's important both like musical theater history as well as American history and like African American history. After you read that, you answered a couple questions. We went over these at least briefly in class yesterday, so you should already have this done. If you're out of school yesterday or if you didn't complete it, please do make sure to click the blue Submit Assignment button up here, and in the text box, answer these 4 questions for me. Let's get into the work for today. For today, we're going to be focusing on that self-same text. If you are in my honors class, then we started talking about this yesterday, but that's okay. Everyone else will catch up, no problem. We're looking here at grade 7, module 3, unit 1, lesson 2, work time B. If you go into Canvas and go under the Assignments tab and search for this string, this phrase, it will pop up. You should pause for a second here and go get this thing open so we can follow along. Great. Now that we have this document open in front of us, let's take a look at what we're going to be asked to do. First, we should review the learning targets, which I also have above my head here. In simpler language. We're going to analyze repetition in Shuffle Along, and we're going to compare the text and video versions of Election Day. So we're going to go ahead and analyze the lyrics of that opening scene and listen to a performance of the song to compare the two mediums. You did, in fact, preview the song at the beginning of class yesterday, but we're going to look at it more closely now. So, there is, at the very top here, this thing that says excerpts from Shuffle Along. Go ahead and open that up. I'll give you a second to get that done. And it's going to look a lot like this. This is a series of excerpts, which means small pieces of the musical Shuffle Along. And if we scroll through, we'll see excerpt 1, first excerpt. And then like a page or 2 or 3 later, we have the next excerpt. Right there, it says second excerpt. And we scroll through, and there's a third one, right? So we're just going to look at a couple of these here. The directions say that we should be looking at the text features. Text features are things that are in a text that aren't, part of the information it's trying to convey. If you can answer all of these questions here, then you're in a pretty good spot. So let's see if we can figure those things out. What's the first page about? I mean, it says right there, right? So if we scroll through, we get a pretty good idea of what's going on with this first page, and I bet you can probably figure out why that first page is important. What good does it do to have a list of people and like who they are? Why would you need that if you're putting on a play? Where does Act 1, Scene 1 take place? Well, if you've ever been to a play, you know that like it's not just the story doesn't run all the way straight through, right? They'll have some action. I'm on the wrong side. There we go. We'll have some action, and then things will stop for a second, and we'll have new action, and some time has passed, or they've changed locations, or something, right? Usually the lights turn off, or maybe the curtain comes down. It's usually the lights turning off, though, for a second while they switch stuff around. When they switch stuff around there, they are doing a scene change, right? They're going from scene 1 to scene 2, or whatever. It just means that the setting has changed in some way. An act is a larger section of the story, kind of like a chapter in a book. Usually there are between 3 and kind of 5 at the most acts. Though sometimes there are only 1 or 2 though. So where does the first one take place? The answer is here on the screen. Can you find it? Yeah, I bet you did. What do the words in all caps indicate? Indicate means show or point out. What do the words in all caps show? Well, what do I see in all caps? I see the words act, the word scene, opening chorus. Chorus here means like the entire company is singing together, not just 1 or 2 individual actors. Here's some more stuff that is in all caps. I'm noticing that the all caps stuff is happening right before, it looks like someone's singing or talking maybe. And if I scroll through, I see more of that. Yeah, here's like Jim Williams. That's one of the characters from the list of characters. Citizen could be a character, a person in the character. I wonder what all caps stuff means. What do the words in italics indicate? Italics, of course, is just slanty text. Let's find an example of that. Like right here, where it says following Steve Jenkins supporters as they sit at the right, and then they look towards the left. Well, I'm gonna guess people aren't gonna like read that stuff out loud. What could that possibly be doing? And finally, what do the indented lines indicate? Well, these lines here are indented, right? They are over more. They're not in line with everything else. I'm just going to give you that one. That's them singing, right? When we get down further towards the bottom, we'll see text that Jim and other characters have to say, but they're not squished in. They're not indented, which means that they are, they're said, not sung. So if you haven't already, go ahead and read that first excerpt of the play. There we go. It's just this first 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just these first 4 pages, right? I mean, there's 2 lines on page 5. That sounds like a lot, but most of it is them singing, which doesn't take up a whole lot of text. And this first page is just a list of characters, so that'll go by super fast. Go ahead and read excerpt 1. Now that you've read excerpt 1, we're going to go ahead and answer a couple questions here. What is the song about? Who are the 3 candidates, and why do their supporters support them? Which candidate does John Williams support, and why? And explain the relationship between Jim and Jesse, and the relationship between Jesse and Harry. Put all that stuff in the text box, which you get to by clicking the Submit Assignment button, picking Text Entry, and then going tippity-tap down there. It's time for us to actually get into the the objective. Again, if you look above my head, it says analyze repetition and compare the text and audio versions. We haven't done that yet. So far, all we've been doing is building background knowledge to make sure that we are able to do that. So scroll down here, click on next, and we should see work time B continued. And for this task, you're going to need the excerpts still, so don't get rid of that. And you're going to need this thing that says compare and contrast, which looks like this. It's a series of multiple choice questions. There are two sections of multiple choice questions. One is labeled text, and one is labeled music. And each of them have, I think, 3 questions. No, the second one has 4 questions. Whatever, it's fine. So what I'm going to ask you to do here is to take a look at that first set of questions, right? Go ahead and answer those questions now. Okay, now that we've done that, it's time to talk about repetition a little bit. In the lyrics that we're looking at, we keep seeing things that are repeated over and over and over. And as we know, that repeating stuff technique is called repetition. There are lots of things that repetition can't do in a piece of text, but in this case, repetition is being used to show off that something is either important or that a character is excited about something. So let's find an example here. Oh, right there. Boom. Election day, that's the day when everybody's happy. That's the day when everybody's glad. Election day, that's the day when you forget, right? So we can see the words election day are repeated over and over and over again, probably because this is the beginning of the show and people have to know what's going on, right? If they miss the fact that it's election day, the rest of the play is not going to make sense. And then we have this repetition, not of necessarily the exact same words, although it is mostly the same words in these 2 lines. Everybody's happy, everybody's glad, is the same idea, right? They're going to say it again and again and again and again to make sure that the audience picks up on this fact that this is exciting, right? It also kind of builds excitement, right? When we listen to the song in a few minutes, you're going to see that this is going really, really fast. And so having this being repeated over and over again helps to build up this sense of like rhythm and excitement. As you scroll through, you'll see other things that are repeated, like hooray, 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 right? When we're doing this, by the way, ignore the stage directions. Focus on the text, the things they're going to say. We don't see a whole lot of repetition there when we're talking about what the chorus is doing. But when we get back to like the main part of the song, we're back to hooray, a crowd showing up. Here we have some more repetition. Why do we think this is going on? Why are the text supporters repeating this me, him, she, him, me? Just be 3, right? This idea of these 3 people here. And then again, 1, 2, 3. We're repeating not just the words, but the idea of there being 3 of them to point out that Mrs. Peck is not very, popular, right? And there are more examples as you go further on. You should go ahead and find some examples yourself. But repetition is being used to either show something is important or to make something seem more exciting, right? You should go ahead and write that down somewhere. We're going to be taking notes on lots of different techniques that an author can use to influence the reader or the audience member. There is a technique anchor chart where you could write this down if you wanted to. You could type it over here about repetition, right? Or if you prefer, you can keep your notes in your ELA notebook, which is, I think, what most of us have been doing. If we click the next button, you'll get a copy of the music for this song, or for the song. We listened to this at the beginning of class yesterday, but I'm going to ask you to spend a little bit more time here focusing on like listening to it more in depth. You may have to listen to it 2 or 3 times, probably twice. As you listen here, I want you to think about, in addition to repetition, what does the songwriter do, like as a song technique, to influence how like excited or happy or important something seems. Do they speed up? Do they slow down? Do they sing higher? Do they sing lower? Do they go faster? Do they go slower? Whatever, right? Think about those types of things. After you have done that, you should go back into the compare and contrast activity. Boop. Oh, wrong one. Boop. And do the second set here that focuses on music. There are multiple choice questions about the music, and you should answer those questions. If you noticed, the authors doing those things I was just talking about, the singers, going faster, going slower, singing higher or lower, louder or softer, you should go ahead and tell me what effect you thought those techniques had. So if, for example, you heard something, they were singing louder, tell me what you think that means. If you think they were singing higher, go ahead and tell me what you think that means. What were they trying to show off there? I'm going to point out real briefly here that people often say singing low to mean speaking very quietly, like whispering. That's not what low means when we're talking about sound, right? Low in a more correct manner means like lower in pitch, deeper. As opposed to higher, which is up and like kind of squeaky, right? No, when we're talking about like less loud, we mean quieter, right? So let's be careful about how we say those things. So on this screen, we should have listened to Election Day. We should have answered some questions, and we should have added things to our anchor chart. These questions here for step 2 are things you should be thinking about. In what ways are the text and musical version different? How are they the same? And they both show the same feeling. Hopefully, you can answer those questions. If you can't, reach out to a class member that you think is smart. See what they have to say. I'm not really sure. Oh, no, my bad. Do please make sure that you click Submit Assignment here and that you hand in this activity. There are lots of ways to do this, but the simplest is to click on Google Drive down here and sign in as your school account. And you can't see this anymore because it's a new window, but you'll be able to look around. Actually, yeah, you're not going to be able to find it or see it on my screen, but you'll be able to look around and attach the file you've been working on. That's the easiest way to get this to me. Cool. So the last thing I'm going to point out is that we will be doing the mid-unit assessment. Yeah, right there. Boom. Not on Monday, that'd be silly, but on Tuesday, right before Thanksgiving break. And I know you're all going to be like, oh, Keen, what are you doing giving us like a quiz the day before break? You're a monster. And you're right, I am. I'm sorry. But I figured it was better to do it on the day before break when you're still thinking about everything instead of the day after break when you haven't thought about anything at all for like 6 days. So that's the plan here. We're going to do another bit of practice on the same skill on Monday. We're going to be comparing and contrasting the like written and live version of stuff. And then you do the same thing again on the quiz, which we will again take next Tuesday. I would like to recommend to you that you complete this homework activity here, this Blake biography thing. If you open this up, it's taking a second. Sorry. There we go. There are some questions here, right, that talk about the person who wrote this musical. You can get the information you need to answer these questions back in the Harlem Renaissance packet, which is where we read about this musical on Monday, or sorry, on Thursday. If you scroll down to the section that says UB Blake, right, it's just that one page, you can get all the information you need from that. to answer these questions here. This activity is mandatory if you're in my honors class. It is highly recommended if you're in my other 2 classes, but technically optional. So this is a space for you to stretch yourself if you are feeling like you like to challenge yourself, if you're feeling like you are a smart cookie who can handle a little bit more in-depth thinking, or if you're just thinking, hey, you know what, the history of African Americans and their art is important to me. Well, this is like one of the most important early Black American artists. Like, maybe you want to know something about him. Throwing that out there. That's all I got for you, everybody. As a quick review, the work you should have done today. I'm going to go ahead and start at the very beginning of my list. And of course, if you've been following along here, you are all kinds of ready to go, right? This is the task from yesterday. You should have already answered these questions. If you haven't, you should do that. Second, you read Shuffle Along, and you answered some questions in the text box on this page labeled Work Time Part B. On the next page, which is labeled Work Time B Continued, you answered some multiple choice questions inside of this document. They were talking about the text. On the one labeled Closing and Assessment, you listened to the song and answered the rest of the questions in the Compare and Contrast document, which you then submitted by clicking the Submit Assignment button at the top. Finally, there is a reminder about the quiz coming up on Tuesday, and if you're in my honors class, or if you feel like it is something that will be useful for you, this homework assignment that you should also submit. That's everything I got for you, everybody. I hope you are having a fantastic day. I hope you have a great weekend. Be safe. Be well. Do good. See you.